my role, this type of video, and I think everyone will find this interesting. This is not The Thinker, but Rodin's Gates of Hell. Now, if you're watching this on a smaller screen, you don't need to see all the detail in this video. I'll describe it. But if it's interesting if you can take a look at it, but there's no need. Most people think that Rodin just sculpted this thinker and other aspects or other sculptures. And in fact, it all came from this mega work called The Gates of Hell. And this isn't a great picture, but it's small. It gives you the perspective of how large, it's basically a large doorway with hundreds of little sculptures. This is a person standing next to it. I guess the original one is in France. There is one at the Rodin Museum in Philadelphia. But he spent 20 plus years on this, and I don't know why, but maybe because of the popularity, or people said, wow, what is this character here, the thinker? Other sculptures, standalone sculptures, came out of the Gates of Hell. This is a better picture. So there's all this stuff going on. So it's the Gates of Hell, people, I guess, being in torment. Rodin based this supposedly off Dante's Inferno. So item number one is, most people don't realize that the Thinker is not just a statue. It's a remake of something that appeared inside this Gates of Hell. So that's item number one for this video. So let's change subjects or switch it up just a bit. Not change subjects, but switch directions. So here I've searched in Google Images Cantor Fitzgerald Rodin collection in the World Trade Center. Just a little history before we get into this. Gerald Cantor, the original founder of Cantor Fitzgerald Securities. He was a huge collector of Rodin art, was the largest private holder of Rodin sculptures anywhere in the world. He died in 1996, but of course was one of the founders of Cantor Fitzgerald, one of these massive Wall Street, I don't know, some sort of brokerage house, securities firm. And Cantor Fitzgerald was one of the two companies focused on during the World Trade Center collapse, that they lost more than 50% of the employees in there. Like Marsh was the other one, and Cantor Fitzgerald lost, I don't know, something like 400 of 600. So the point is, Cantor Fitzgerald, basically still had all this Rodin stuff, even though Mr. Gerald Cantor died in '96, and they put it all up in the World Trade Center. So item number two is you have all these elements of the Gates of Hell inside the lobby, the Cantor Fitzgerald lobby or special art room inside the World Trade Center. So you have the three shades here that appears at the top of the Gates of Hell. I'll show you that in a moment. The Thinker, a lot of these pieces were in the World Trade Center on 9/11. So it's odd in and of itself. A bunch of aspects of Rodin's Gates of Hell were in. Okay, there's more. So let's go back and take a look at the Gates of Hell, and there at the very top is that three shades. So again, because this top of the Gates of Hell was so wonderful, it had to be done in its own standalone large sculpture. Okay, so let's just go and take a look at the three shades here in a little bit more detail. Necks all bent in weird directions. I have no idea what the symbolism of this is. They say the necks are too long for a regular human. It's very flat across the top. Three arms extended down to a point, obviously. It's ridiculous symbolism. Not ridiculous. I mean, it's ridiculously obvious that there's heavy symbolism here. And it's not for the profane. It's not for people like me to understand it. The great unwashed like me and you. And we don't really understand it. If anybody does, please share it in the comments. So this is a really weird article It just, I don't know, it just takes you back to 9/11. It's just creepy. The New York Times, born of hell, lost after inferno. Rodin work from Trade Center survived and then vanished. So we'll just read a little bit of this and then I'll summarize it for you. May 2002, less than 1 year after 9/11. Amid all the cement and steel and bodies that fell from the sky in the World Trade Center collapse, there was art. Most of it was destroyed that September morning, but a few sculptures tumbled a quarter mile before coming to an uneasy rest in the fresh, hot debris. I mean, who would, it's not even been a year since the loss of life. I'm not reading this. I'm saying this now. Dan Barry, what kind of a monster are you, Dan Barry? And William K. Rashbaum of the New York Times. Monsters. So who would write, isn't the loss of life all that matters? Like, if you want to talk about the loss of art maybe 10 years later, it's appropriate. Oh, God, the entire news media is nothing but a bunch of monsters. So anyway, let me just read this and shut up. But a few sculptures tumbled a quarter mile before coming to an uneasy rest in the fresh, hot debris. They were Rodin's. A bust from the Burghers et Calais. I don't know what that is. Blah, blah. There was the Three Shades, broken almost beyond recognition. Oh, forget the loss of life. Oh, it was broken. I'll shut up. And it appears a cast of the artist's most famous work, one inspired by Dante's The Thinker. Okay, now having survived an actual inferno, these sculptures continue to intrigue, though in ways never imagined by their maker. For there is a small trailer sitting on top of the mountainous Fresh Kills landfill on Staten Island. Outside its locked doors, workers hunt through the last truckloads of World Trade Center rubble for any remains of the estimated 2,800 victims. Inside rests an engine from American Airlines Flight 11, blah, blah, blah. All right. Here I don't know who says this quote, but we'll read it. Well, here it is. There's extraordinary symbolism, isn't there? Said John L. Tancock, a vice president of Sotheby's auction house and former curator of the Rodin Museum in Philadelphia. Quote, they have survived in this state, and it can be viewed as an inspirational story. Okay, I'm gonna stop there. Again, little truth nugget. This guy in this New York Times article says about the Rodins, the elements of the gates of hell being in the collapse and then pieces being found. There's extraordinary symbolism, isn't there? Well, he doesn't explain what the symbolism is. All he says is, they have survived in this state, and it can be viewed as an inspirational story. Okay, part one. Yeah, well, it's just a drop. Yeah, of course it's symbolic. Put elements of the gates of hell. You know, I don't. My picture of what hell is not the traditional Christian picture or description. Okay, it's just not, and people that know this channel know that. But nevertheless, you know, I don't know exactly how they're getting off on the symbolism, but it's obviously, this is all part of the ritual. That's all I'm going to say. I don't know anymore. It's all part of whatever the ritual was. So this guy, John Tancock, says there's extraordinary symbolism. Doesn't say anything about what it is. Well, what do you mean, John? You know, well, the initiated know what he means. I don't like saying that. I'm using the old Bill Cooper terms, the initiated, the secret societies, but I don't know what else to say. But this is sick, the last thing he says here. They've survived in this state, and it can be viewed as an inspirational story. Why would it be inspirational that guys sifting through rubble, maybe looking for bone and body parts, find just pieces of remnants of Rodin's Gates of Hell? How is that inspirational that they found pieces of metal in the scraps at the Fresh Kills landfill? And most of you know about the Fresh Kills landfill, but a few of you watching this probably don't. And when I first read it, you went, what? The landfill that all the body parts and the rubble and the collapse of the World Trade Center was taken to the same day? or the next day, when they started taking it away almost immediately, they took it to the Fresh Kills landfill. Yeah, folks. And for people like me that say we live in some sort of a script, I'm not going simulation for this video. We'll just call it a script, an as above, so below script. The body parts and all the rubble went to the Fresh Kills landfill.